I get complaints on a regular basis on how dogs act when people come to the door, whether it's a guest or maybe it's the delivery man. So I want to teach you how we are going to teach a dog the appropriate way to act when someone comes to the door. There's a 3-step process that we put in place to teach a dog. The first step is teaching a dog how to get you to the door. Now, if you run to the door every time your dog is jumping on it and barking, then you are telling him that jumping and barking is what works. So we have to make sure that we wait until the dog is giving us an appropriate behavior before moving to the door. The second step to teaching a dog how to act at the door is creating space. You want to create space so that your guests have room to come in without being accosted by your dog. So to do this, we're going to use the body block, and we're going to move the dog back without saying a word until he is a good distance from the door. And that distance is going to change depending on the way that your house is laid out and depending on how big your dog is. The third step is giving permission to the dog to say hello to the guest. In the beginning, you're going to give your dog permission as soon as your guest puts one step into the door. As you progress, allow the guest to come in farther and farther before giving permission to your dog. Now, you really need to set this up because you don't want guests just being left out in the cold or having the door closed on them because the dog moves before you give him permission. So make sure you set this up. A great way to practice this is when a delivery man comes to the door. Let's say he's delivering a package, but he does not need your signature. He drops the package, rings the doorbell, and leaves. Your dog may go nuts. Well, if you know it's the package, then you can wait until your dog stops going nuts, go to the door, back him away from the door, open the door as if you're talking to a guest, bring the package in, and then give your dog permission to say hi to the package. So you're doing the same behavior. It doesn't matter what's on the outside of the door. It only matters that you're being consistent when something is on the outside of the door. Good girl. Good girl. You're going to go side to side. You're not dancing with the dog. Once they stop going side to side, you'll move towards them to where they start moving backwards. You're looking for distance. As soon as they get that distance, you'll turn around and go back to the door. If they move forward to the door without permission, you immediately turn around and back them up again. As soon as they get to where they need to be, you turn and go to the door. You're not giving any commands. You're not getting any attitude with them. You're being confident, consistent, and you're taking control of your space, and you're communicating clearly on what you expect when someone comes to the door. You may start to come, So I started to invite my guest in, but the dog's not doing what I need her to do, so you have to close the door. Obviously, you're going to want to set this up. Hey, come in. Dayan, okay? You obviously want to set this up so that your guest knows why you are closing the door in their face. Good girl. Good girl. So what you're working up towards is the dog just knowing that when you come to the door that they create space for your guest without having to back them up, without having to tell them to do so. Hi. Hi. Oh, now let's say the dog gets in and you're not given permission. Instead of throwing your guest back out, use your body to create space again between the dog and the guest. And then open yourself back up and have conversation with your guest before giving permission to the dog. Dayan, okay, good girl. Good Good boy. Good boy, Bo. Good boy. Good boy. You're going to use your body to walk him back until he gets a specific distance. Once he gets that specific distance, you're going to turn around, go back to the door and start to open it. If he starts to come in without permission, you close the door and you back him up again until he gets to where he needs to be. Go to open. Again, if he moves, door closes. Invite your guest in. As soon as they take one step in, you're going to give permission. I have not given him permission just yet. Bo, okay?
Buddy.
Good boy. Good girl. Good girl. Now, when you're working with multiple dogs, you've already established what you expect with them individually. But it'll get a little bit more difficult when they both come together. When you're doing the body block and creating space, you pick one until they back away, and then you go to the next one. But nothing else changes. It's still all the same. Oh. So now I create space with this one. Go to the door. Oh. You may come in. Oh. So I'm wanting to create a little bit more space with this one. She's really wanting to get that head in there. So you may have to create a little bit more distance for her compared to the male who's doing a much better job. They come in. Okay. In no time, your dog will learn that he must be controlled. When someone comes to the door, he must back up himself and create space, and he must stay back until permission is given. Practice, practice, practice. Make sure that you don't give in one day when you have an unexpected delivery and you go to the door while the dog is barking and you hold the dog's collar or you try to squeeze out the door. If that's the case, just holler out that you'll be at the door in a minute and then put your dog away and then go to the door.